So here in Australia, we're gradually catching up with the UK, with Canada and with the US in recognising coercive control, finally, as a crime. We've now got 3 states that are criminalising it as of this year, and the others are gradually coming into line in the next couple. And yet, none of that legislation can do the one thing that has to happen first. Yes, the law can describe the pattern from outside the relationship, but it can't tell the person living inside the relationship that the pattern is actually happening. Laws operate from the outside. Evidence of behaviour, course of conduct definitions, reasonable person standards, beyond reasonable doubt. The problem is that when a partner uses coercive control, it isn't obvious when you're living with it, especially at first in the love bombing stage. That intense affection and the attention that makes you feel like no one's ever made you feel before. You probably know the one. It's only over time that the patterns emerge. However, the issue is that coercive abusers use behaviours that are specifically designed over time to degrade your ability to be able to trust your own reality, to second-guess your experience, to play down and minimise what you're experiencing. The result? For those observing on the outside, it's actually recognisable. They can see coercive control. But of course, coercive abusers rarely drop that mask outside of the relationship for others to see just how bad things actually are. For the partners on the inside, though, there's only a confusing cycle of highs and lows, self-blame, shame and guilt, and suddenly you no longer know who you were before the relationship. Your life becomes focused on making sure that your partner isn't upset by something that you've said or done, or that you haven't said or done. You know something's wrong. You wonder if maybe your partner's avoidant, has anger issues, maybe they're stressed, or perhaps they're a narcissist. Maybe couples counselling could help. Maybe you're the issue. Maybe if you just work on yourself or go to therapy for that anxiety, depression or your trauma, then maybe, just maybe, everything will get better. Maybe then things will go back to how they were at the start. And as you keep going around and around in that cycle, you're getting more and more exhausted from trying everything. And maybe it does get better, even just a little bit until it's not again. And maybe as time goes on, your partner is getting more cruel, more distant, and likely more controlling. And you're getting more and more anxious, more and more stressed, depressed, and probably physically unwell. So despite the best intentions of our legal systems and the incredible work of those in the sector who have been fighting for decades to have these patterns criminalised, it really isn't until after there's significant harm physically, where there's an assault, that a partner who's been coerced dies or is killed. That's usually when police or the courts become involved. Certainly in Australia, the very few prosecutions that we've seen for coercive control be successful and get across the line are only at the extreme end where the abuse has escalated to the point of pretty significant harm. And therein lies the issue. Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely in favour of our legal systems finally coming into line with the harms that victim survivors, who are statistically much more likely to be women, have been describing for millennia. However, what we do need and what's been missing is to provide practical education and tools to recognise and to track coercive control in real time. Something that breaks through the very mechanisms that abusers use to disguise the patterns of their behaviour, the ones that over time lead to serious psychological, emotional and physical consequences for their children and for their partners. But we really need more than checklists of red flags or lists of the top 5 things to tell if you're in a toxic relationship. Those lists don't accurately describe the experience of a coercive relationship where an abuser has curated specific patterns tailored to target the unique vulnerabilities of each of their partners. So we need tools. We need tools that are built on contemporary evidence and from the lived experience of victim survivors. Ones that allow those that are living inside controlling and abusive relationships to recognise the psychological and emotional patterns that coercive abusers use to confuse and to control. But more than that, we need those tools to connect the dots between those patterns and the very specific types of harm that those patterns cause. I'm Dee. I'm a clinical psychologist, a coercive control consultant, and I'm a former police officer with over 25 years supporting women who have experienced abuse and trauma. I'm the founder of Wise Woman Studio, where you'll find tools and resources related to coercive control, and I'm also a survivor of coercive abuse. On this channel, I'll be bringing you regular videos about living inside and recovering from coercive control and the legacy of harm that it leaves us with. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments what sorts of things that you'd like me to cover. And if you'd like to hear more practical guidance on how you can recognise coercive control, you can subscribe to this channel if you'd like, or to the Wise Woman Studio website. The link's in the description. I'm also really excited to share that I'm launching the Relationship Clarity Mapping online program in the next couple of weeks. And that's a program that's specifically for women who want to recognise and track the patterns of coercive control within their own relationships. So I'll be sharing with you more about how to map those patterns on this channel. Or if you're interested in being one of the first to have access to the online program, you can subscribe at the website to be the first to know when the Relationship Clarity Mapping program goes live. I hope you'll join me. Take care.